Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan.
I'm James.
And I'm Callum.
And tonight it's a packed episode.
So much to talk about, so little time.
But first, Callum's back in the studio. He
Yes,
wasn't
I
with us
am.
last week
Callum,
due to work commitments.
That's right.
This is the part of the show where I want to kind of backtrack a little bit because we did...
At Astra.
Piracy
yeah.
and Ad Astra.
Yeah, we did and I really wanted you to be here for those episodes. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. So we're going to do like a little recap.
Yep.
Of like, just to get your opinion and to maybe go over some of the things that I've been thinking about since we did those shows that we didn't get to talk about on those episodes. But first, you missed out on the best part of the Ad Astra episode.
Do tell.
Hup
We
action
opened-
figure.
Oh my god. How much did this cost?
You can check
$25.
You can check the video on the Facebook
Yeah.
page. We
So
opened it live.
You can
on
take
the
it
air.
out. You can take it out. I just put it in there so I didn't lose his spoon.
That was a struggle.
Sorry, dear listeners, bear with me for a second.
So I
am filled with wonder.
I brought in the Hup action figure from last week to show Callum because he missed
He's
out.
our mascot though as well.
Oh, the legs move.
He's also he's got posable joints. He's got two spoons as well. That's his little spoon. He comes with his big spoon as well.
We decided that Hub is the mascot of the show.
Yeah, podcast mascot.
Although he should really stay in the bag when he's not in use.
I just realised something. He's a podling, and he's the podcast mascot. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. But we nearly lost his spoon, so just be very careful.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
I blue tacked his spoon into his hand, so
Oh,
it
good,
doesn't.
okay, yeah.
And I got a little baggie for
Honestly,
him. so-
that's really wonderful.
yeah,
I think that was actually that's worth $20.
it's so
Especially
worth
because
it.
it's so niche.
yeah.
I mean, because we live in the day and age now where you can't really. There are toy stores, but there's no toy stores like there were when we were kids.
I think we talked about. I think it was in the Dark Crystal episode
Yeah.
where I was like, you used to be able to just go to Kmart and buy all the
or
cool
God,
toys.
or God forbid, back when we were young, there was just Toys R Us's.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, these days toys are
Now-
technology and video games.
now
Back
it's
in our
like-
day, it was toys were toys.
Yeah, now it's like there are collectible stores, but mostly it's all
niche,
online. Yeah.
So that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
That makes me happy inside.
Yeah, that's why I brought it. I was like, I'm disappointed Callum missed out on the unboxing. We did a whole unboxing in the studio.
That's awesome.
So secondly, Ad Astra, you missed out on the review.
Yeah.
And I really wanted you to be there because you enjoyed the film, and I had a lot of problems with it, and we were kind of talking about it off air.
Yeah, look.
And I wanted to get your opinions on it. And
I did talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And I've also heard Nathan talk about it. I've also read a lot of other reviews.
Yeah.
Some are glowing reviews, some negative reviews, some in the middle. And I feel like I understand where all of these people are coming from.
Yeah.
Personally, I do love the film.
Yeah.
But it is a deeply flawed science fiction movie. Deeply flawed.
Yeah.
That's not to say I still like it. One thing I do have issue with is I've been seeing criticisms about so-called portrayals of autism in the film. I do feel like Tommy Lee Jones's character probably does have some level of
Tommy Lee
Asperger's.
Jones?
Yeah, the father.
Oh, okay.
But I think that my interpretation of Brad Pitt's character was he didn't have a childhood. He didn't really... His child, when he was growing up, it was no play, all business all the time.
Yeah.
And he developed into a broken man.
Yeah.
That was always my...
Well, see, that's what... I just speculated it because when Nathan brought up the fact that Brad Pitt's character was, from the beginning, meant to be on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't get that from the movie at all.
Yeah, no.
I just felt like he was a broken man, like you said.
Yeah, that's my interpretation.
But then as me and Nathan were talking about the movie, we kept going like, mate, what is this movie? Is it about a sociopath? Is it about a guy on the spectrum? Is it a guy who's just depressed? Is it a guy who missed out on his childhood? I feel like the movie doesn't do a good job of exploring.
My interpretation was it's about a man who never had a life because he was too busy living in his father's shadow.
Yeah.
So that's why he's so broken. Broken might even be the wrong word.
Yeah.
He's never lived. Right, so imagine you take a guy, he has no fun his whole life, it's all study, then it's all work because he has to live up to this threshold of
mythical,
greatness.
yeah.
Yeah, mythical, that's right. He has to live up to a mythical figure, that's his dad. And only because his dad is not in the picture, right? So his dad is literally a mythological guy. So people are like, oh, he's so-and-so's son.
That's what I thought the movie was going for, but I thought it did such a bad job of actually exploring and expressing that.
I do feel like his father probably does have Asperger's only because of that single-mindedness aspect that characterizes Tommy Lee Jones's character.
Maybe, yeah.
My big problem with the film isn't even Brad Pitt's performance or any of the other things people were hating on it about.
Yeah.
It's just how cynical the film is at its core.
Well, that's what we talked about at the end of the movie. I was just like, what is the message of the film? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Or, like, does it... We questioned whether the movie understood itself.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Because, like, my mentality is, as far as the aliens thing go, it's a very atheistic view to say, oh, no, there's no aliens.
Yeah.
And I mean atheistic in the sense that, like, that militant kind of, well, there's only science.
Yeah.
Right? So my perspective is we exist.
Yeah.
The universe is infinitely larger than the human mind can comprehend. We can safely assume, we don't know, but we can safely assume there's at least one other intelligent organism out in existence.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about the movie, is that it raises that question of, like, what if we're alone, and then just doesn't explore it.
Exactly.
It's just like a little footnote at the end of the movie.
And that's the more interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about how they could have made a whole movie about us being alone in the universe.
Yeah,
but instead it's just kind of pushed there at the end.
Did you? I haven't listened to that episode. Did you throw down the Isaac Asimov quote?
I butchered it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, either we're alone or we're not. Either is equally terrifying. And like, if you're like, what does it mean if we are the first?
Yeah,
that's what that quote. That's what the movie should have been about.
Yeah.
If we are alone, are we the first? And what does that mean?
Exactly. I said that the movie shouldn't have been set in the near future. It should have been set in the far future, where we've explored.
And there's just
like
no one.
Countless corners of the universe, and there's just nothing.
Yeah, and you find out maybe you're the first after all.
Yeah. See, that would have been much more interesting.
But like, the movie was beautiful.
Well, that's what I want to say. Like, I feel like I was a bit condescending in the review, as I do. Sometimes when I give a negative review, I kind of get a bit condescending to people who like the movie, and I'm just like, look, you didn't fucking get it, and don't pretend like you did. But like, as Callum was exploring, it's like there are ideas there.
Yeah, definitely.
That I think that's what people are responding to, as well as the visuals. But I was kind of like, is it just me, or is it a beautiful but dumb kind of situation?
You know what? I think
where it's like so visually beautiful, but
I think it's honestly, I think it's beautiful but dumb.
Yeah,
I actually think it might suffer from some of the annihilation
or
problem.
maybe beautiful but confused.
No, so what I think happened is the writers had a really good idea. And then the executives or whoever was like, you know what, we need to bring this back in a little.
Well, what I like about James Gray, the director, is he's very vocal about like the problems he has when shooting, and he's just like, look, the movie wasn't 100% what I want it to be. Here are the problems I have with it. So he's not one of those directors who's super secretive or who's just 100% always trying to defend their movie. Like, he's just like, look, it does have problems, so that's cool. But yeah, it's just like watching the movie, and I'm just like, does he get it? If we don't get it, I don't know.
I think it was a good idea. I think that the script should have spent more time in the oven.
Yeah.
I think that they should have they need to focus on a core philosophical idea.
Yeah.
And not like the 2 or 3 that they have going.
That's the thing. I said that it raises too many questions and then just never really explores any of them fully.
One thing I do have an issue with is I don't blame Brad Pitt's character for the deaths of those other people. Well, but I feel like the reactions of other people to Brad Pitt's presence was, I want to say, unrealistic. Well, he kind of he stole away on a ship.
Yeah,
which
was really stupid. There was one thing I don't think we talked about, Nathan, where there was a stupid scene where he has to get to the ship that's leaving Mars, and he does that by entering the hatch underneath the thrusters while they're in like warm-up mode or whatever. We didn't mention that. He would have died. That is really dumb.
He would have died.
I'm like, I know they had to quickly get him on the ship before it left, but I was like, that's a really dumb way. Sorry, go on, Callum.
No, there could have been like a Mars dust storm, right?
Yeah.
And then he kind of uses the storm as camouflage to sneak in a hatch or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like...
I mean, he does sneak in the hatch, but it's in the worst place at the worst time. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just feel like in reality, and I know it's a science fiction film, but in reality, someone's first reaction isn't always got to kill him.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I mean, it was like, we were joking on the show, Nathan, like, it wasn't his fault, but it kind of was, but it's like, things kept happening where I was like, is this a guy who we're supposed to be rooting for or not?
Yeah, no.
And at the end of the movie, I was like, I think he is the hero, but they don't do a good job of
that's right.
really painting him as a hero.
So I still like it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think that there's promise there. They just failed to deliver.
Exactly. I think one thing we talked about in the review is that it wants to be an arty-farty intellectual,
but it doesn't have the script to support that.
But also it wants to be like a kind of action adventure movie with like, you know, sci-fi action scenes, and it kind of doesn't know which one. And I said it should have been one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like I think I saw a movie, I didn't talk about this in the review, but I saw High Life earlier this year with Robert Pattinson, which is a very arty-farty kind of art house sci-fi movie.
Was that good?
I didn't like it. And one of the reasons I didn't like it was because it was arty-farty, psychological kind of...
navel gazing.
Yeah, what do you call it? You know, like... not psychedelic, but, you know, like it's exploring ideas through, like, strange imagery and stuff. But also, it's got an actually really interesting core premise, which then characters come and explain through really stilted dialogue, where it's like, wait, you can't have both. You can either have the arty-farty, like, exploring weird things through imagery, or you have a straightforward science fiction movie with exposition and dialogue. You know, like, they were trying to do both.
Yeah, pick a lane.
And, and I found that the actual science fiction premise was more interesting than the weird arty-farty exploration of that stuff. So I was kind of like, I would have, you know, see, it's similar with Ad Astra. The ideas are there, the questions raised are really interesting, but then they don't explore them well enough, and they go on these long tangents of, you know, beautiful, but kind of
dumb.
Pointless. Yeah.
Beautiful but dumb.
Yeah, like
like I said, I did like it.
Yeah.
But I can't honestly say you can't honestly tell me it's not only is it the best version of itself.
Yeah.
It's probably not even the best science fiction movie of like the last.
I don't
there are so
rate
many
it highly.
sci-fi movies I've never seen. Right?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you it's not even the best science fiction movie released in the last 6 months.
No, like, I don't think so.
Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
It might be the best looking.
Yeah, that's true. The cinematography was tight.
It did look very nice.
But no, it has.
I just feel like I can't think of an example. Maybe like when you're watching Eraserhead, that's a really cryptic, weird movie. But it's like you kind of understand this, even though Lynch never explains his movies, you understand like there's a theme behind it of like fear of parenthood and that kind of isolation even when you're in a relationship, just through the imagery and the weird noises and the music and that and that and that. Lynch doesn't feel the need for characters to come in and start explaining the plot.
No meaningless exposition.
Yeah, they come on screen and explain things you don't understand.
Or to have like fight scenes, you know, like, or action scenes,
yeah, that's
you know?
true, yeah.
You know, like, or alternatively, like there's a movie called All Is Lost where Robert Redford is like a guy like on a like sailboat, and the whole movie is just him alone as shit like hits the fan, and like a storm happens and like it capsizes, and then he has to like fix a hole in the thing, and then he has to get rescued, and he's trying to fix the radio, and it's like a whole, and it's just him on his own the whole time. And that's not really an arty movie because it's not it's not stylized in any way. It's kind of realistic, but it's kind of arty in the way that's just a lone man trying to survive.
It's the opposite of mainstream. In the
Sort
first
of.
movies go.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, you know, it's not a big action movie with a lot of big cast, but it's not hard to access. If you know, it's not a weird art. It's not Eraserhead. You know, it's not weird. It's not confronting. Yeah, it's straightforward. And like Ad Astra is like neither of these movies. It's like all these movies and neither of these movies. It's like it doesn't. It keeps going back and forth. It doesn't know what it wants to do. But I think what it all comes down to is like, I think I told Nathan this, but I don't think I actually said it on the review of Ad Astra. I said, when I first saw Interstellar, the first opening like shot, I was like, I'm down. This movie's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
One, that was because of Nolan, but just, sitting in the cinema, you're like, Ad Astra opens, the first scene of Ad Astra, and I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, there are something about good movies where you just know from the start.
Yeah, it's like first scene of Interstellar, I'm like, this is an experience.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just privileged to be here.
It's like you don't know where it's going, but it's like it's going to be
the
good.
opening shot of Dunkirk.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like Ad Astra opened, and I was like, I don't know about this. And it wasn't me being cynical, or like it wasn't me already going in with a negative opinion. I really, really wanted to like the movie, and I do like parts of it. But it's just that unexplainable feeling when a movie opens and you're like, oh, we're in for something special. And with Ad Astra,
it's a subconscious thing.
Yeah, I was like, with Ad Astra, I was like, I don't know about this.
It doesn't click.
Yeah, it doesn't click.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there's not that spark. Yeah.
Look, like it wasn't the worst. Like, don't.
No.
I do unironically enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's a deeply flawed film.
Yeah.
And it should be treated as such.
True.
I think it's a good jumping point for conversations. It's also good for the filmmakers to learn from, in the sense that, you know, there are things you do right here, things you can try and avoid.
As I said to you the other night, there's nothing worse than a mediocre film that just kind of skates along and there's nothing to discuss. Even if a movie's really, really bad or really, really good, you know, at least there's something to discuss. But if there's nothing to talk about, you know you've got just the death of movies.
Yeah.
That's true. Even really bad movies have
you can
following.
discuss a lot. And, you know, you can.
I mean, look how much we milked out of Deathstalker.
Oh no, those are masterpieces. Those are objective good movies. No, but you know, like there are really bad movies that like start the new Star Wars movies where we just talked about for hours and hours because you can break down all the bits and pieces. But then there are movies that are just kind of mediocre where you can't discuss.
And there's not a lot for us to talk about.
Exactly.
What's the point?
Whereas at Astra, it's like even though it might not be great, it's like there's so much to talk about and dissect.
That's true. Yeah. So you also talked about Piracy.
Yes, that's another discussion because we talked about, you know, during the rating, you know, video game classification and a movie classification episode, we started talking about Piracy. And then I think at the end of the Dark Crystal episode, we started talking about Piracy. And then like, oh, we'll do a bonus episode. And then you couldn't make it. And I was like, damn, because off air, we were having all these discussions about it. So I thought we'll do like a
little bit of a catch-up.
Yeah, just talk a little about a couple of things that we didn't talk about on the actual episode.
Quick disclaimer. In our discussions on piracy, we neither advocate nor admit to any piracy.
But first thing I thought was just came up over the last few days is that the MPAA, which we talked about in the ratings episode, who like are the American like film classification system, they've rebranded themselves as the MPA. Just like they've dropped the of America.
They're trying to get rid of the stink.
Yeah, so no. And what they're trying to do is like instead of the Motion Picture Association of America, now they're just the Motion Picture Association.
So they're trying to go global.
You know, we were complaining it's how like this, they're an American company, but they're like censoring things and they're controlling the flow of information around the world. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of like...
Yeah, it's another step in that direction.
It's like they're an evil, like Mr. Burns.
I mean,
from
a certain point of view, they already have that standpoint, and all the movies are made with their ratings in mind.
It's kind of funny that they've like changed their name to reflect the fact that they're already censoring the flow of information around the world. Like it's kind of on the nose kind of thing. It's like, come on. It's like,
they got balls.
Yeah. Also, I thought it was funny is that Grand Theft Auto 3, which is almost 20 years old, has been re-rated in Australia as R18.
Oh, no.
The speculation behind that is because they're going to relaunch it on PC for Rockstar's new launcher.
Service, yeah. But, I mean, it's just so funny.
It's really good on the Switch.
The games,
old GTA games on the Switch would be so good.
That would be good.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. Like, these games they're walking polygons, man.
Yeah, but it's like GTA 3, I mean, all the old GTA games.
They're all violent.
But they have that, even with the graphical limitations, they have this dirty kind of raw violence.
It's a grungy.
Grungy, realistic violence about
But it's like the fact that the game has been out for almost 20 years under the MA15 banner, and at this point, to re-rate it as R18...
Look, I'm not saying it's because of the current government, but...
Yeah, no.
ScoMo goes hard with Catholicism or Hillsong or whatever he's a part of. So he's very conservative with his religion.
Yeah, but I think...
Would that maybe send waves?
I think, but as we discussed, is the Australian...
I don't think Scott Morrison thinks about these kind of things. I think there's an internal body which handles that.
Exactly. I don't think it's actually about the current conservative wave we've been, dealing with. I think it's the fact that the classification board has these sets of blanket rules that you have to apply. You have to check the boxes, and now that there's the R18 rating, which there wasn't before when GTA 3 came out.
That's true.
Now, when they have to re-rate it for the new release,
gets automatically classed as
with those check boxes they have to check. It's like, well, we have to check the R18.
This now fits the updated rating system, and don't be surprised if if this ever happens, but I think it will happen, we get a new wave of reclassifications to update with the new system.
That's scary.
So there might be a whole bunch of other games which will also get updated to R18 if they get uploaded to the digital marketplace, for example.
But that's scary, one, because it's like, look, they were MA for a long time. Is it really necessary to upgrade their,
No, but it'll happen.
And also, two, are they going to start banning games that have been out for decades?
I don't think they'll get banned.
I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't think they'll get banned if they were already approved.
But the thing is, like, staff and, management changes in this organization come and go.
Yeah.
And if a game's getting reclassified, it can also be...
I mean, there are games...
refused classification, technically.
There are games like DayZ, which was out for several years...
And that got banned for a reference in the code, which was actually in the game, which is hilarious.
Like, what if GTA 3 was reclassified under the new system, but it's like they couldn't check one box because it didn't meet the criteria, so they're like, oh, we have to kind of
ban it.
Like that's a scary thought.
And it'll happen.
It'll happen eventually, and everyone will get mad, but nothing will happen because
yeah, they'll still be available digitally. I guarantee it.
Well,
some of these companies
this ties into our piracy.
Yes, it does. Discussion. But I'm also meaning the government can't stop digital vendors. They can't stop all of them.
Yeah.
So they might be able to block physical releases.
And even like when we say like we're talking about all digital vendors, right? Not just Nintendo.
So like we're talking Steam,
G2A, off
G2A, Green Man Gaming, Off Gamers, all the different websites where you can buy legitimate keys from.
Yeah.
Especially if like places like G2A, which are like, I suppose you would call them grey marketplaces, in which you're buying from other people. You're not like, you're buying a key that's come from another region.
Yeah.
So it's like you can still buy these games which are banned. Even
it's not from the manufacturer of the game or whatever.
So even though I don't advocate G2A, because
G2A
is largely a dodgy website.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, no, it ties into like what we're talking about with piracy, where I think we should say as well, like, we did that whole episode on piracy, and it's kind of like it felt like we'll kind of justify piracy, and it's like I feel like most of the time we were 100% justified, but I feel like that doesn't mean like we're not saying don't pay for stuff. Like we want to pay stuff, and
that's always been my whole standpoint is I'm happy to give you a reasonable to mildly unreasonable amount of money.
Yeah.
To pay for entertainment.
And I think when we're doing that episode, we said over and over again, we like buying.
I love taking something home.
I feel
just give us our access.
Yeah, like I feel like us three, our combined like salary
collections.
Well, no, our combined like actual buying power is relatively low, and yet the percentage of like media we purchase is really high.
Massive,
so for a small percentage of that to slip by in perhaps maybe piracy because it's not available here or it's censored here or something like that.
What are you supposed to do if you live in an environment where you cannot physically purchase something, or that product is not legally allowed to be watched due to ratings issues or region blocking?
We talked about how sometimes piracy is the only option. But I think like especially us, like, we're generating our own content based on content. It's kind of like we're trying to kind of bring light or even make a living ourselves on, this content, which we're happy to pay for if it's available. But sometimes it's just not.
Especially if it comes in a nice box.
Yeah, especially if it's actually a good release and they don't just throw it out there. But I think...
Yeah, it's difficult because like in our specific case, one of our biggest targets is the movie industry. In terms of piracy here. And, very few movies that we actually want to watch actually come out of the cinemas here.
That's actually...
On a broad scale.
That's a good point. I mean...
And then we have to wait 6 months and import a Blu-ray because the Blu-rays never come out here.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's a good point. James was talking to us just the other day about the Shining 4K release.
Yeah.
And that's not getting released in Australia because
as far as I know,
I looked it up. I was like, let me see. Not getting released in Australia. Got to import
so we have to import it.
Yeah.
And which we're happy to do.
Yeah, I've already done it.
Yeah. So. But that's not always the case for a lot of media.
Yeah. Yeah, like, some things is just... And it just comes down to cost as well.
Especially hipster movies in which, like... We're lucky to have cinemas like the Astra and the Nova, which do play hipster movies. But a lot of people, and especially in America where it's a big country, they might be 5 hours away from their local hipster cinema.
Yeah.
I'm like,
even for us where it's not that far away, it's still pain in the ass sometimes
look,
to go out.
for us,
sometimes it costs more to get there than the actual movie.
It does. And like, look, you can say we're this amount of kilometers away,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to drive there because parking will be a nightmare.
Yeah.
and
And
costs-
it's
it
like,
costs a
so
lot
we
too,
catch a
yeah.
train and then we catch a tram and we walk and it takes us like
and it's
an
like,
hour?
yeah, and
which
it's
I
like,
don't mind doing.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind doing it every now
at the end of the
and again,
day,
but
it's
also
like
a massive cost.
Yeah, it's like how much is the movie worth? Not just monetarily, but in your like
Your time.
Like, you'd have
Your
to take
physical effort.
yeah, like I'd have to take the whole day to go out.
Yeah,
and
that's
see
right.
the movie.
Which
Sometimes you know?
I feel like streaming could solve this problem. It feels
Yeah.
like if indie film companies
Yeah.
were like, yeah, you can go to see it. You can go to see The Lighthouse, for example. We'll
Yeah.
say The Lighthouse because that's a movie I want to see, which
yeah,
is hipster.
definitely. Yeah, I really want to see that.
If they could, yeah, go to the Nova at this date at this time, or pay $20 and you can watch it
Yeah,
once off,
exactly.
which
But
the A24,
Yeah,
theoretical rental service.
As we discussed on the actual episode, it's like we thought streaming was the solution, but now there's the streaming wars. Now we have the back to the cable problem where there's 700 different streaming
And
services.
it's going to get worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I just want some type of futuristic blockbuster where I can say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to log onto my, my indie app,
Yeah.
see what's out, like, that I can't access and just, like, pay up. Like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pay good money to
I
rent
think-
something like
yeah.
The
There is
Lighthouse.
there is a service like that in America, but it costs thousands of dollars.
I think what has
Yeah.
I think what has to happen is there needs to be a streaming app that's legal, that's basically like a file sharing app where it's basically a blank slate. There's no actual content. And then inside of that, all media creators
Yeah, can upload their...
just upload their thing and you
it's like
pay to them.
A24 can upload their movies.
Exactly. And the payment percentage goes to the like actual
The company.
the host of the app
content.
and then
Oh,
but the rest of the percentage of the like money goes to the actual creator who
That's
put
been
that
done.
there.
That's been done before. Tom York,
But it needs to be like a universal
Yeah.
thing that everyone accepts, like a Netflix thing where it's like everyone
Yeah.
has that, and it can be the app can be used on all devices across the world.
Tom York of Radiohead sold one of his albums on BitTorrent.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
but-
true. That's similar, but
yeah.
obviously BitTorrent has a reputation.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. There has to be a more quote unquote legit, app that's
Yeah.
available on PS4,
Like, I
Apple
don't want
TV.
I don't want some guy in a suit in some high rise to say no. Only these regions can download
exactly.
it.
Yeah, the
You know
app.
what I mean?
The app has to be downloadable on every device in the world, and then all
no different regions.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
One region,
and then all producers of that,
Yeah, that's right.
companies have to be like, all right, we're all on board. We'll all put our eggs in this basket, and then we'll get the money all back.
Because that would
No
also,
fighting. There has to be,
and that would like go to.
They'll
a
never
long
do
way.
that, but
no,
no.
it wouldn't. But that's like a part of that problem.
because that's the only way to make it as easy as piracy to
Yeah.
get content.
You just type in the movie you want to see.
Yeah, and it's
you
there.
Link it to
'Cause
your credit
I'll
card
give you an
or
example.
whatever. And you just,
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I wanted to watch a documentary a couple of days ago, and Nathan, we talked about there's 5 streaming services that I have: Netflix,
Yep.
Amazon, YouTube, Stan. Oh, and Disney Plus was the 5th one that hasn't come out yet. Which I
Did you
will
say
get.
Prime?
You did.
Out of those, I couldn't find that documentary on any of those streaming services. And as far as I know, it wasn't available on any other streaming service that's available here in Australia, which out of those ones I mentioned, I don't think there is any other ones.
None worth mentioning.
Yeah, but...
You forgot Crackle.
Oh, yeah, Crackle.
And Tubi.
But it's like, and then it's like to actually go and buy the physical Blu-ray was, I think, $35, $40. And I wasn't sure if I actually would like the movie
Especially
or
if you
wanted
haven't
to
seen
own
it,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
And even then I had to buy it on eBay or Amazon, which how much of that money actually goes to the manufacturer or the producers of the movie anyway. So it's kind of like, you have to make stuff available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't. Don't get me wrong. Piracy is always a bunch of the blame for bad illegal piracy.
Yeah.
is always going to be on the people who are doing that action.
Well,
But-
we talked about, Nathan, on the episode, like, don't blame the addict,
It's a
blame the pharmaceutical company. I think
It's
we
I was gonna
said.
say it's a two-way street. Man.
Yeah, exactly.
When Netflix came out, I think piracy dropped. When music piracy is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause of, like
pretty much.
Spotify.
When-
Why no one has a need
No,
to pirate.
when the music industry solved the problem,
yeah,
The
It
only
went away.
reason I'm pretty sure the only time music ever gets pirated is when an album gets leaked, and that's only because
Yeah.
people can
Yeah.
listen to it before it's
Early.
legally being released.
and even then, technically, usually it's on YouTube and it's streamed. It's
Yeah.
not exactly the same as downloading.
yeah,
In that sort of piracy
yeah, yeah.
sense.
But like just like a few more things we didn't talk about on the actual episode. First off, like the whole thing I'm getting at is that like support the artists.
Oh.
Like we you know, we're not saying don't buy it because there's evil mega corporation behind it. Like we want to support the artists, we want to support the content creators. But I think the best way to do it now, like we're talking about with Louis C.K., where he uploads his own things, is to like cut out the middleman. Cut out the corporate.
Direct to consumer.
Exactly. Like, you know, there's crowdfunding and Patreon now. Yeah, like there needs to be like a straight, you know, whoever's making the actual stuff, it's like there has to be a more direct line of we know our money's going to that person.
Can I give $20 directly to Scorsese for the Irishman?
Exactly, yeah. It's like I don't want to pay some executive for his bonus. So, you know, like I want to pay the content creator so they can keep making content.
Yeah, that's right.
And Nathan, we were talking about PAX this year, which is starting soon. And you were talking about how you like how there are some indie developers of games where you can just go pay cash and they'll give you a key to download their game.
If you buy your game from Steam, for instance, Steam takes something like 70%.
Like a large percentage of...
A large percentage, and then the developer gets 30%.
Yeah.
It's something crazy like that, or it's the other way around. Either way, they're not getting the full money, yeah? But if I go to PAX and I hand an independent developer a $20 note, he'll give me a Steam code.
Yeah.
And then
the money's going directly to the person who made the game so they can continue to make games.
Exactly. I'm directly supporting independent developers instead of just, as you said, paying a bonus to a bigwig. So I like that fact about PAX, that I can go and talk to the developer.
It's very personal,
It's personal, and I can actively support them.
Yeah.
Because I know that you give them cash, man. Yeah. They're not reporting that to the tax office.
And they also...
No, I'm sure they do.
No, you know what I mean. Like, it's not...
And they also get a good gauge of, like, what consumers want, what gamers want, you know, what their fans want.
Yeah, feedback. That's right. Feedback you can't... Also, you can talk about them. If you're playing it, you can ask them questions one-on-one. They're right there. Yeah. And they like that. Like, a lot of the time, the indie developers are happy to engage with people. Yeah. And because it's not online, you can't really be an asshole.
And also your email to the corporation can't get lost. You know,
that's
like
right.
or you can't just get an automated generic response.
Right. If you ask a question, they're right there.
Exactly. It's like if you go, why did you make this level like the way it is? They have to
even simple questions. How did you do it? How did you get into this field? Blah blah. People like to talk about what they love.
Yeah, the community. It's a good community. You know,
it's a good feeling. Yeah. Like having been there a few times, it's a good feeling. Talking to these people and actively
sometimes they
supporting
give you
them.
swag.
Yeah, and sometimes they give you free swag.
Yeah, which is what I always want.
Little cards and little like knickknacks, and sometimes they give you lollies.
Also, another thing I don't think we talked about.
I'll take lots of photos.
Because I can't make it this year, so
but I'll take lots of photos. Next year, you can upload them to the page or whatever.
Yeah, but next year I think I'll definitely go, and you know, if the show's still going, then we'll like talk about it then. But one thing I want to talk about is how, like, I don't think we talked about this on the actual Piracy episode, but where the missing, like, if you're a collector like I am and you buy, like, for instance, I bought all the Arrested Development seasons on DVD, 1 to 4, but then 5 is exclusively on Netflix, so you can't get that. So my collection's incomplete.
Yeah.
And so, like,
and it triggers me every morning when I wake up to get out of bed.
Yeah, and the fact that season 5 wasn't even released on Netflix in Australia because Foxtel owns the rights,
and they refused to play it.
And as far as I know, they still haven't played it. I don't know if they have ever did.
No, season 5 actually did. It rolled out. Half of it came out fairly recently in Australia.
Oh, finally they played the first half.
Yeah, I think so.
On Foxtel.
I'm pretty sure. Not on Foxtel, on Netflix.
In Australia?
I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me to it.
So Foxtel just let the rights lapse?
Don't get me wrong. I noticed it on my Netflix.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you might be wrong, but
I would say this is the big plot hole I have with the streaming revolution is, in the good old days, if you had something on physical media, it was technically, I won't say illegal, but it technically wasn't illegal for you to have a backup copy.
Yeah.
So if you bought, let's just say you bought Arrested Development on Blu-ray, you could technically have another copy on disc as protection.
As long as for private use.
Yeah, so in case yours got damaged, you could say, well, I have these backup discs.
Yeah.
You can't do that with streaming.
No, exactly.
Even if you pay, pay a subscription.
Unless, as me and Nathan were talking about on the episode, unless you pirate it and back it up on a hard drive or on a disc, you know?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So it's kind of like, yes, that's piracy, but it's also
And that kind of ties into
Not-
what we were
yeah.
talking about a few weeks ago with Netflix retroactively editing.
yeah. We
their
talked
own
about
content.
we talked about
Yeah.
censorship.
So
yeah.
the only way to get some of these episodes is
Yeah.
to have
Like,
But it's
yeah.
also like I've got the Matrix Blu-ray box set, and then the 4K box set came out, and I bought that. But the 4K box set doesn't have the Animatrix on it; only the normal Blu-ray does. So it's like, well, now my 4K box set's incomplete, so I can't get rid of my Blu-ray box set because it's got Animatrix in it. And as far as I know, they never released Animatrix on Blu-ray on its own. Maybe they did. I think they did on DVD. But
I think they did on DVD. I don't think they did on Blu-ray.
exactly. So it's like I'm not I don't even want Animatrix on 4K. I just want the disc in the box.
it's
So
not
then that
complete,
way I
yeah.
don't have to have 10 box sets of the same thing. You know, like it's just that there has to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Another thing is like we were talking about. Sometimes piracy is the best way to archive something.
Yeah.
If something's been censored or has been changed from the original version. And like the show Daria, the animated show, which I love, and it's so
90s
good.
throwback.
Yeah, but because of all the music rights issues, they change all the music in it, and so I refuse to.
not the same.
Yeah, I refuse to buy the
the Scrubs problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. We talked about that. Like, I refuse to buy the Daria DVD box set because it's not.
It's not
Daria.
legit.
Like, it's not what the artist intended. It doesn't have the same feeling.
That's right.
And so they've lost a sale. There's a guy online who was restoring the episodes with the original music, and so I downloaded those.
May or may not have downloaded
Maybe.
those.
No comment. That's piracy, but also, like, that's legitimately me saying, well, these are the original versions.
You want the original
Yeah,
versions.
and you've lost a sale by not paying the people who made the music for the show, and then give yourself bonuses and say, oh, well, the reason we didn't do it because it cost too much and people aren't buying it. I'm like, but I didn't buy it because you didn't give me a complete
That's
set.
right. You don't want the
You didn't give me
altered
the
version.
original. Exactly. It's the same with Star Wars, You didn't give me the, like, original unaltered version. So why would I pay you for that?
No, that's right.
And they blame us.
That's right.
It's like, oh, you didn't buy it. Well, it's your fault. And now we're not making enough money to re-release the next release. And it's like, well,
James, there is no winning.
yeah. One more thing before we move on. It's kind of the same with the Arrested Development problem. So in America, they have all these streaming services, most of which we won't even get. So half the content either won't come out here or will be stuck on Foxtel or something.
Yeah.
Which is wildly too expensive. But then, like, sometimes outside of the US, those shows will be on other streaming services here, like Amazon and Netflix. And Titans, which is on the DC Universe streaming service in America, that came to Netflix here. And that's great because we don't have the DC Universe streaming service. So it's awesome. We can watch it on Netflix. So then was like, well, Doom Patrol's coming out. So it's like, surely that'll come to Netflix, right?
It hasn't come out.
And then Swamp Thing came out in DC Universe.
And they
Surely
got
that's
cancelled.
coming to that. Yeah, but we can do a whole episode on that because I'm fucking mad. But like, surely that's coming to Netflix as well, right? So I waited and I waited and I waited. Nothing. Then I found out, where Doom Patrol and Swamp Thing are airing in Australia?
Where?
Fox 8. I'm not paying $90 a month to watch two shows.
You don't have to. You can get the Foxtel now cheaper, but man,
It's
I don't
not
wanna,
worth the price of your soul.
I was gonna say, who wants to give Murdoch money?
Exactly. So, and then that's another thing. There's political reasons on top of all this. But so you're giving me 1 out of 3 DC Universe shows on Netflix, and then 2 out of 3 DC shows on Foxtel. So I have to split my money instead of just paying for the DC Universe app, which you haven't released in Australia.
So dumb.
Yeah. Luckily, Titan Season 2 is coming to Netflix here after, like, months after it airs in America.
But I feel like I should also watch Doom Patrol at this point before I watch Season 2.
And this is my ultimate
So
point.
it's all in the one universe, and they're fragmented.
This is what I wanted to get to, is I was fed up with waiting, and I flew my Jolly Roger flag.
May or may not have.
May not have. Hey, it's maritime, not maritime law. It's international waters. Like, no, you can't. Everything's legal. And I watched Doom Patrol because I was sick of waiting, and Titan Season 2 is coming out soon. So I was like, gotta watch Doom Patrol, gotta watch something. So I watched Doom Patrol. It's fucking awesome. You guys will love it so much, and you have to watch it, and we have to talk about it on the show. Because it's incredible. and it's so comic booky. Callum will jizz in his pants because it's so weird and out there, and like they're just like, it's awesome.
Kind of semi-small update about the Sandman TV show.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman, our Lord and Savior, did I've read it, Ask Me Anything, and someone asked him how are they going to adapt the TV show, the comics to a TV show.
Yeah.
And it's 1-to-1. As far as he's concerned,
Huh.
no, he said all of the stories from the original run of the Sandman are being made into TV.
Huh.
That's what he said. Now, don't get me wrong. This is still early days, but the intention of the creative team is to literally take each issue. I don't know if it's going to be multiple stories per episode.
How many? There's like 10 trade paperback.
There's 75
volumes,
issues total,
right?
Yes,
But like it's split into 10 volumes.
yes, that's correct.
So it's possible like one season will be, but they're not going to do 10 seasons, surely.
I don't know, but that's what Neil Gaiman is saying. Now, of course, it's early days, so lots of things can happen.
Yeah.
But that's good news because Neil Gaiman, his run of Good Omens. Good Omens was very well received. American Gods was very well received.
Good Omens is awesome. Yeah.
So as far as his adaptation record goes,
Yeah.
solid.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got to be like one of the best writers still working.
So
like,
good news on the Sandman front, which we don't mention it all the time, but every now and again there will be a little
when
news
there's
update.
when there's a new like a proper update, we'll go hard into that. So I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Sony and Marvel have made up and are reteaming
the
for
lovers
Spider-Man.
quarrel.
Yeah. So
Sony was like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
And Marvel was like, you'll come crawling
I'm a strong
back.
independent film production
Yeah.
studio.
I don't need no
mouse.
Yeah, I don't need no mouse. But and Ron Howard narrates, but they did.
So this is like, okay, see ya.
Yeah, so apparently, because what was the original deal? Disney was only earning like 5% of the gross or something like that.
And they were putting up like 25% of the money or something.
They were basically doing all the work, but I think there was reports that they wanted 50-50 and Sony was like, no, get out. And then they were like, well, how about 30? And Sony was like, no, get out. And then they were like, okay, we're over, we're breaking up, never again. And everyone was devastated. And like, Sony, you have no idea what you're doing with Spider-Man. Please give it back to Marvel. They're not perfect, but they're better than whatever the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of like, no. And it was looking like, yeah, they're not going to do it. And then now, apparently, I don't know 100%, but Disney's got like a 25% deal.
25-75.
Was it worth the drama?
I mean, it's all,
Look, deep
if they
down,
didn't
obviously,
do it, yeah.
Sony's always known it can't do well now in the modern world without Marvel's help.
There was not any point in time in which neither company was going to make a healthy profit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, that's why I was confused. I was like, Sony makes all the money with doing very little work.
Just
basically, it's like
it's free money, man.
I guess on one hand, it's fair for Disney to ask for more, but also on the other hand, it's like, well, it is technically Sony's property, and this, that, and the other, and I don't know. I mean,
just be kind to the audience, but think of the children.
This is what all this comes back to. It's like the business side, the politics. It's like we can talk about that forever, but what it comes down to is that we want Spider-Man in the MCU. And
do whatever it takes.
It's like we want to see him like finish his arc. And we don't want for other Avengers characters to be ignoring his existence, and we don't want a weird Sony movie where they're not allowed to
reference Tony Stark
and stuff. So, I guess it's good that he's come back. As far
it would
as
have been
I know,
really awkward.
Yeah, as far as I know, so far they've said that there's going to be the next Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 3 we'll call it, the Far From Home sequel. And then I think they said another Marvel appearance. So I'm assuming he's going to be in one of the other MCU movies coming out. And after that, I don't know if they're going to renegotiate again or what. But
look, hopefully they will. Hopefully they get into a groove where they're just confident just re-upping the deal and like continuing forth. Because at this point, like Sony should still be happy getting 75% of $1 billion.
Yeah.
And where they weren't making, they might have been making that much before, but it's a better movie.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like Disney... Like Disney, how do I say this? Like Disney has this huge monopoly on everything now.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's kind of concerning. But for like comic book fans like us and like sci-fi fans, it's like it's good that everything can be in-house and
That's
the
right.
MCU can be all connected. But also, even though I know Sony probably wasn't going to do a good job with Spider-Man, it's kind of like I still always want those different interpretations, those outside adaptations that aren't going to fit into the MCU mold.
It's such a shame that Netflix can't have the the Marvel Knights shows.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like, this is great on one hand, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, oh, again, Spider-Man's going to be in the MCU. He's going to be a very MCU.
I kind of feel like, especially after what happened with the Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
like just give it all to Disney.
Exactly, and it's kind of like
stop playing games.
That's what we keep saying, is just give it all back to Kevin Feige. He knows what he's doing. He loves the characters. He can introduce them all into the world.
Enough money
Yeah.
that they could pick up a smaller comic book studio and make shitty movies from another comic book studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like IDW. Was it 2000 AD or Image Comics even, right? Like make a Saga TV show, Saga movie, any number of things.
Yeah.
You'll still make maybe not as much money as you
Yeah, it
would with
doesn't have that
Spider-Man.
brand recognition, yeah.
But it's like, just give it to Marvel, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, good and bad has, but I've also heard rumors that there's going to be like a coexistence between that part of the deal. This is all rumors. There's probably no basis in
like
reality.
Venom and
it's like
Carnage
Venom
and
2 and Spider-Man
They never
3
made
or
a
whatever.
Venom movie.
Will sort of, they won't cross, I mean, there might be crossover, but like there
They'll
might
be
be
in the
some
shared
sort of,
world,
yeah,
yeah.
like they might be able to reference each other a little bit. So then maybe eventually Sony will, I don't know, they're probably not true, but
Yeah.
I mean,
that
but-
gets too complicated.
But we do want more partnership between these companies sometimes.
Yeah.
Because often they're direct competitors,
Yeah.
but a healthy partnership
it's like I
towards
said,
a common goal
exactly.
is always good.
It's like I said,
the competition should be who can make a better movie, not
That's
who
the
gets
thing.
who gets the rights.
maybe like, remember when Mario Odyssey and
Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild will come, and that's both Nintendo, so technically they're both of the same family,
But
they had a
same company.
rivalry.
But they had a friendly rivalry to make who can make the best game, and
and they
those,
both made the best game, depending on what you're after.
Arguably, those are two of the best games in their series.
Oh,
and
no, I
two of the
agree,
two of
yeah.
the highest like grossing.
I would go they're two of the best games in the last 5 years. Easy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, there needs to be like, instead of just like, oh yeah, we have this brand, we got to milk it for money. Let's just slap on a name and get a guy in to do what we want and make the movie.
The
and-
scripture rights.
Exactly. Like, instead of doing that, it's like, how can we make the best movie possible to blow the competition out of the water?
You know what really showed Disney?
Yeah.
Let's show them what a real Spider-Man movie looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. That should be like, if maybe get Lord and Miller to do it because Spider-Verse was so good. But
Oh,
it's kind of
man.
like, even then, it's like to make a
Actually, that's
sequel
true. The
to
best
it.
Spider-Man movie was technically a Sony film.
Yeah, but that's an animated movie, and that was Lord and Miller's kind of baby, So it's and for them to then go to live action and make a sequel to the MCU movies, that wouldn't have worked, I don't think. And then to have like the crappy Venom movie be connected to it, that also wouldn't have worked. So, and then it's too much studio interference and too much complicating crossovers,
Yeah.
and it's like they just have to be like, hey, how can we make a really good movie and blow the competition out of the water? And then the competition has to say, wow, that movie was really good. How are we going to beat them by
How can we
making a
top
better
that?
movie?
Yeah.
Instead of them going like, here's the algorithm we have to follow.
Yeah. Healthy rivalry
Yeah.
instead of greedy business.
Exactly. Yeah. One more thing, and then I think we'll end the show. Kind of connected to that, Kevin Feige, who runs the MCU, has reportedly now attached to a new Star Wars movie or a new Star Wars project. It's
don't
not-
know how I feel.
Has someone been
It's
listening
not-
to the show?
Yeah, it's not. It's not clear what he's doing.
I need more
Because
information.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
So-
we've said Kevin Feige should be running Star Wars
Yeah,
before.
so Kevin Feige's so good at like managing all of the MCU. He's not perfect.
But he
I
has
have
an encyclopedic
problems,
knowledge
but-
of Marvel. Does he
Yeah,
have an encyclopedic
exactly.
knowledge
I'm
of
sure,
Star Wars?
I'm sure he's a big Star Wars fan, but is it the same as reading,
You know what it
growing
is?
up with comic books? It's not the same as, I don't think
Yeah.
he's sat down and read all the expanded
But-
universe, which are now not canon anyway, so... Like,
You know what it is? I
But
think
that's not the point.
He's shown he can be respectful to source material.
Yeah.
Remain like he
But-
retains the integrity of this of you know,
But
the
yeah,
characters.
but that's not the point. I think, as I was saying to you the other day, is at the end of the day, the damage has been done. Star Wars is well and truly dead, and it doesn't matter what he's doing for the Star Wars universe, whether he's running the new movies, whether he's just working on a single project. It's too little too late. And as far as I know, all the other, like Kathleen Kennedy's still in charge, and all the other projects being made are going to be made. And so really, this doesn't matter, and
It
I don't
doesn't
care.
matter, and I feel like this was inevitable.
Yeah.
Because when Disney bought, Marvel,
just-
and
it's
Kevin Feige is now
It's
part
a
of
way,
Disney machine.
Yeah, it's a way to quiet the backlash without actually doing
Yeah.
anything
And
against it.
If you think about it from a business, you're the head of Disney.
Yeah.
It used to be what, Bob Iger. I don't know. Who
I think
it is now.
did he step down recently?
He
is
did.
that-
It's,
Okay.
it's someone else.
He
Now.
did.
Yeah,
I'm Bob Iger. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm thinking, Star Wars isn't doing too well.
yeah.
We got Kevin Feige over here. He's probably one of the greatest people in our company. Let's put him in charge of
Yeah.
Star Wars because
He-
he
but-
makes $1 billion every
that's,
movie.
Yeah, it's this kind of cynical business decision.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
not a creative
No,
decision.
it's not, and
It's
that's my point.
Yeah,
This was inevitable because
Yeah.
he is a money man. He's a
Yeah.
money maker.
yeah.
He prints money for
Exactly.
Disney. That's why he was.
It's like
moved
he
to
knows
Star
how to
Wars.
run the Marvel ship. Will maybe if he's not running the Star Wars ship, he'll be
helping
correcting the
advising,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
this was always inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of information, so we might have to talk about it later when there is. But
I'm kind of
I
hoping.
don't care.
I'm kind of. You know what?
It's just, it's a nothing.
The only
Yeah.
thing I would like is if he's supervising a reboot, which is like when I say reboot, I mean that in the loose sense where like they finish up the terrible train wreck, which is the current sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And then there's some time skip which he's in charge of, like a sequel trilogy. You know what I mean? Like if it's like a soft reboot.
And Luke popped back into existence.
yeah, that would
he
be good.
disappeared.
I farted. I force farted through time.
He forced himself into the future.
Hey, did you? Oh man, oh god.
No, but I think that's the only time
Yeah.
where I would be hopeful is if
Yeah.
he's supervising some type of restructuring
I bet you they've just brought him on, and he'll make a few suggestions, and
to quiet the neckbeards down.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like there's no actual creative, energy, and there's no Star Wars love here, as we've mentioned. These people they don't understand it. I always repeat myself. They don't. At the end of the day, they don't understand it.
It's not full of wonder.
Exactly. So they can't create a good movie if they're just kind of like
Get the
slap the Star Wars name on
Dark
it.
Crystal guys should be in charge of it. The Jim Henson Company should be running Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, what do we say? Like, Dark Crystal is a better Star Wars movie than The Last Jedi.
It is.
But like, you could remake, like I keep saying, you could remake any good kind of fantasy movie as a Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
and it'll be a better Star Wars movie. So just remake the first season of Dark Crystal, change the names and change the swords to lightsabers, and you've got a really good Star Wars movie
You've even
or
got
show.
the Sith, the Jedi already built in.
Exactly. So it's just fuck it. I don't care.
We need more information on what Kevin's doing.
Yeah. I think we'll end this episode here, and then we'll record the next episode, and I'll try to upload them as close to each other as possible. Callum, I think it's your turn to sign off.
Thank you for listening. Like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tuesday Review AU. You can follow James on Instagram at Channel Drifter, where he posts about all the movies he doesn't get time to talk about on the show. You can find our previous episodes on your favorite podcasting app. If you like video games, check out Jake and Alum's show Sunrise Arcade. If you like automotive discussion, check out Car Talk, TRQE, on your favorite podcasting app. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Tuesday Review on iTunes. Adios, cousins.